Hi friends, welcome back to 5 Minute Modern. My name is Cindy, and today we're continuing our discussion of Picasso with a look at his most iconic painting, 1937's Guernica. As in other videos on Picasso, we'll be taking a look at the ways in which his misogyny is reflected in his work. I encourage you to use your discretion in deciding whether this video is right for you or not. In my last video, we discussed Picasso's experimentation with a rapid succession of art styles during and after World War I. Picasso's appetite for a new artistic challenge was only matched by his appetite for a new woman. Although Picasso had married Olga Koklova in 1918, within a few years of marriage, Picasso had lost interest in her. Upset by what he perceived as Koklova's possessiveness, Picasso painted her in distorted positions, often with a vertical mouth full of well-defined teeth. As art historian Judi Freeman noted, many have interpreted this depiction as referencing a vagina dentata, that is, a vagina lined by teeth, often used as a symbol of castration anxiety. In 1927, at the age of 45, Picasso approached a then 17-year-old girl named Marie-Thérèse Walter and offered to paint her portrait. Within a matter of months, Picasso began an affair with the teenager. Where Picasso portrayed Koklova as a castrating monster, the lecherous artist painted his new muse in a highly eroticized manner with exaggeratedly full hips and rounded breasts. Nonetheless, Picasso's paintings of Walter have been among his most praised and sought-after works, with some fetching prices over $100 million at auction. In 1934, Walter became pregnant with Picasso's daughter. Fearful of raising the child out of wedlock, she asked that Picasso divorce Koklova and marry her. Koklova, however, fought the divorce fiercely, leading to a prolonged and bitter argument over their assets, including Picasso's by then very valuable paintings. As the divorce battle continued and Walter gave birth in 1935, Picasso met the surrealist photographer Dora Maar and began yet another affair. Still legally married to Koklova, Picasso carried on affairs with Maar and Walter concurrently, often seeing and painting both women on a single day. Where Picasso's paintings of Walter are flattering and sensual, his portraits of Maar are filled with dread. He often painted her in a contorted pose, either weeping or simply sitting rigidly under one of her distinctive hats. Maar herself hated Picasso's portraits of her, and said that none captured her as she was. In spite of how troubling Picasso's romantic history is, I think it's important to mention he was totally preoccupied with his bitter divorce and his ongoing affairs, even as civil war broke out in his home country of Spain. Fascism had been on the rise throughout Europe in the early 1930s, and Spain was no exception. The fascist party, led by Francisco Franco, fought the Republican government for control of their country. Opposing the fascists in Spain was something of a cause célèbre for many leftists throughout Europe. Picasso, however, was spending his days sitting around left-bank cafes, not even painting much at the time. In the words of historian Hugh Eakin, he was an emblem of Parisian decadence. One afternoon in April of 1937, Picasso was sitting at a cafe table when the Spanish poet Juan Larrea approached him with the news that a historic town called Guernica had been decimated by bombing from Nazi German planes. Several months earlier, Larrea had helped convince Picasso to create a mural for the Spanish pavilion at the Paris World's Fair. And now, Larrea insisted that the bombing of Guernica was the perfect subject for Picasso's mural. Initially, Picasso was unsure about the project. He'd spent the last decade of his career working on alternatingly insulting and flattering portraits of his various paramours, and he'd never done a political work in his life. But details about the bombing continued to dominate the news in the coming days, painting a horrifying scene of an attack deliberately timed to inflict as many civilian casualties as possible. By that weekend, Picasso had begun making sketches. As the communist paper Picasso read continued to publish new photos of the carnage, Picasso worked himself into a sudden rage over the bombing. He had been violently shaken from his political apathy and was now so furiously committed to the cause of anti-fascism that he was unrecognizable to friends. As he began work on Guernica, he became increasingly involved in supporting Republican efforts to save Spain from Franco. The painting was a monumental undertaking. It was Picasso's first mural and his largest work. The canvas was a staggering 25 feet long and 11 feet high. I just want to take a moment to underscore how large that is. looming almost twice as tall as the average person and as long as a stretch limousine. The contorted bodies of humans and animals recall the anthropomorphization and symbolism of his surrealist works, while also expressing the intensity of the carnage wrought by the bombing. The painting's shallow pictorial space was rooted in Picasso's long experimentation with cubism, but it also lent an intense claustrophobia to the scene. He worked in the black, white, and gray tones of the newspaper photographs of the tragedy, which had so upset him. Picasso worked at a breakneck pace, completing the painting in only 35 days. In spite of Picasso's passion in executing the work, it failed to cause any stir at the Paris World's Fair. Most viewers found the painting incomprehensible and spent little time examining it. It wasn't until 1939, after the Spanish Civil War had ended, that Guernica began to receive acclaim. Lent to the Museum of Modern Art in New York as part of a Picasso retrospective, the painting was better understood by viewers as the culmination of Picasso's developing style. Guernica also had added poignance as Franco's fascist party now ruled Spain and a new war against fascism in Germany had just begun. Guernica would remain at MoMA throughout all of Francisco Franco's reign, finally returning to Spain in 1980, 5 years after the dictator's death. Picasso's life and much of his work was defined by immense self-obsession and callous womanizing. But in this moment in 1937, the savagery of violence broke through to him, and he channeled it into a work of intense moral clarity that stands as one of art history's most affecting appeals for humanity. Thanks so much for watching this one. I know I've been running a little long on these Picasso videos. There's just so much to discuss with this artist. As always, I hope that you learned something new. Please remember to like and subscribe. It does really help the channel out, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.